Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and you're watching Non-Stop Driving, and today we're going to be looking at the tank from Kia, which is the EV9. We have the electrical lineup from Kia. This is going to be the top of the line, so the EV9, you have the EV6 and the GT variant as well, and you also get the EV3 in the future. This car is, however, the biggest EV that they have brought out, and we're going to look at everything that you need to know about this car and look at all the seating capabilities of this car, because there are quite a lot. The starting price of this car is going to be around 72,490 euros if you get the rear-wheel drive system with 204 horsepower, and if you want to opt for the all-wheel drive system, then that's going to cost you around 4,000 euros more. And then you also have the GT line and also the GT line in the launch edition, which we have standing here around 85,000 the way it's standing here. Let's get right into the video and let's start it off with the design in the front, where we can see it just looks very tanky. It's a design that I've not seen on any car before, and I think it does have a good amount of design features. The car is going to have a CV value, however, of only 0.28, which for such a bulky car I did not personally expect. So you are going to get a fairly decent consumption on this car, and we'll definitely look at that as well. And there's also going to be a video in the top right corner of a consumption test if you do want to check that out. When it comes to the design in the front, we have the ocean blue matte color on here, so 1,800 euros extra. Standard wise, you can also opt for 0 euros extra for a blue color, which is this one, but not a matte color. No, a tiger nose design in here, which goes downwards, and with also this black split in here, just interrupts the constant color through, which I personally like. Active arrow down here, more of a black design feature here, with also some air curtains on the side, and also a silver touch down here, which is obviously in plastic. When it comes to the design here on the side, we also have this massive, monstrous design when it comes to the lights. 12 modules, LED lights with high beam assistant, and it just looks really good. I really do like the design in the front. Just looks a lot different compared to something you'd see on the street. And if you're driving in the Autobahn and you see this in the rear mirror, you're most likely going to move out the way because you don't want to get run over by such a monstrous thing. Let's also quickly talk about the different variants, because between those variants a couple of things change. You can choose between 3 different ones. So you have the rear-wheel drive system, the all-wheel drive system, and the GT line. Between the rear-wheel drive system, you get 204 horsepower with 350 Newton meters with a claimed range of around 563. So that'd be the most amount of range. All cars do get, or all different variants get, the same amount of battery capacity of 99.8 kilowatts an hour. And they will charge at the same speed, which we'll look at once we're at the charging port. You also, with the rear-wheel drive system, get a frunk of 90 liters compared to the all-wheel drive systems. That's going to be, 52 for those all-wheel drive systems. The all-wheel drive system with the 385 horsepower and also 600 Newton meters is going to get you from 0 to 100 in around 6 seconds. The rear-wheel drive in 9.4, and the rear-wheel drive also gets a top speed of 185 kilometers. If you're looking at the all-wheel drive system, 200 kilometers an hour, which is already quite fast for such a tank. Then, however, you can also choose the GT line, which is going to give you the most amount of Newton meters, so 100 more than the GT or the all-wheel drive system, with 700 Newton meters, same amount of horsepower, 385, and also 5.3 seconds from 0 to 100, so quite quick. That, however, is going to get the least amount of range with 505 compared to the all-wheel drive with 512 kilometers. The main change between the rear-wheel drive system and the all-wheel drive system does also come with the towing capacity. If you get the all-wheel drive system, you're going to be able to tow 2,500 kilograms, so quite a lot. If you get the rear-wheel drive system, however, only 900 kilograms. And onto that loading bar, you're also going to be able to put up to 45 kilograms with the rear-wheel drive system, and 125 with the all-wheel drive system. When it comes to the back, it's also an electrical boot. And in here we have quite a good amount of storage space. You can see we do have the 6-seat variant, so we're going to have these 2 seats in the back and 2 in the center. Otherwise you get 3 in the center and 2 in the third row. But in here, with everything flipped up, 333 liters of storage space. On the side, we can, however, also press these buttons. So we can, for instance, do this, press it once, and it's going to flip over the back seats and also the headrests there. So very nice. You don't actually have to do anything. And then you're going to get up to 807 liters. And we'll also quickly put our measuring tape out so you can see how much space you have towards the front. This is the worst this is the unstraightest thing I've ever seen. You're going to be getting around to this, around 122 centimeters. And then you can also press the other button for your second row, and those are going to flip over fairly harsh. 2,319 if you decide to get the 7-seat variant, and 2,393 if you decide to get the 6-seat variant, which we have here. And now we're going to be looking at to that seat in the front, 2 meters and well, 2 meters and 12 centimeters. So quite a long amount of space in there. And you can see, because we don't have a seat in the center there, you're going to be able to store a little bit more onto the lower side there. But it's just humanly big, this trunk, and also a lot of features that well, this is nice. You can just do this again. The second seats aren't obviously going to flip up, but the third seats are going to move up as well. Design in the back is also pretty, well, big. Obviously we have these big lights here on the side, which are nicely integrated into the design in the back. A little bit of a roof spoiler, tinted rear windows as well on the side, and just the blue color really does fit nicely onto this car. You get the GT Line logo on the side here, and also on this side the EV9. Otherwise a fairly, well, normal looking design here on the back, but I personally do like it with also the camera. That's the only thing I really don't like. It's not centralized. And one thing that's also pretty cool is the rear wiper is actually integrated into the roof up there. Also, I haven't seen that too many times. When it comes to the design on the side, you can see just a humongous car. You can have also a roof rail up here with, I think if I'm not mistaken, 90 kilograms of load capacity. The rear wheel drive system 85 or 80 kilograms. We have these side door handles which do fold in, and they're actually very nice to grab because they're not those things that flip out like that, but they are actually a real handle. Very nice design here as well. We have very big wheels as well, with also wheel hub surrounding here, which are very nicely integrated with these black design. If you get the GT Line, you're going to be looking at 21-inch rims with the all-wheel drive and also the rear-wheel drive system, 19-inch rims, so a little bit smaller, but maybe even more comfort, or most likely more comfort, but the suspension here is also fairly comfortable. Automatically foldable side mirrors, and otherwise just a very humongous design. Let's also quickly talk about the dimensions. So the dimensions of the car are going to be 5 meters and 1 centimeter long, so quite a long one, with a wheelbase of 3 meters and 10 centimeters. That should allow us to get a lot of space in the inside. If we look at the width of the car, you're going to be looking at 2 meters and 5 centimeters with the side mirrors folded in, and with a folded out 2 meters and 26. Ground clearance of 17.7 centimeters, and also a height of the car of 1 meter and 75 with the roof rails 1 meter and 78. And now we're also going to be doing a charging test, but before we do that, let's talk about the weight of the car. Rear-wheel drive system 2.5 tons, all-wheel drive system 2.65 tons. So you are able to charge this car with a 99.8 kilowatts an hour battery at the back here. It's supposed to be getting a DC fast charging speed of up to 210 kilowatts. If you charge it at home in a wall box, up to 10.5. We were able to get a very good loading curve. Claimed from 10 to 80% is 24 minutes. We charged from around 24% up to 80, and that took us a total of 20 minutes. In that time, we charged a total of 59.63 kilowatts an hour, which is quite great. And the average speed that we got, which is the most important thing, is not the max speed, but the average speed that you do get on that curve, 173.4 kilowatts with a max speed of 214.4, so quite fast. And that is going to give you a good amount of range, so you can keep going with this car. And in 20 minutes, recharging that much is quite great, especially for a car like this with the 800 volt architecture. That's going to allow it to get quite far again. So what do you expect from a wheelbase of 3 meters and 10? Well, you expect a lot of space in the interior, and you get that. You can see here lots of legroom. Footroom is also very nice, so the footroom well in there is quite big. You also got a little bit of pocket here. Headspace is not that great, to be honest. 5 centimeters for my height. I'm 1.85 m, 5'11". You do also have the panoramic window in the center, so you get around 7-8 centimeters of space above or below that. You also have your own climatization in here with the temperature and also the vent speed that you can change here. So if you turn this on, well, the car isn't on right now, but you can theoretically do this with your vents up here, and that also changes the vents for the third row, which will also sit in a second. Otherwise, you get heated and ventilated seats here in the back. You also get the sunshade, which you can do, which sometimes is a little funky to, well, get up, but you theoretically have it. A nice little oh shit handle there as well. And the seats are also very comfortable because you can do, for instance, this, and you can sit very far back. With the Launch Edition, currently you cannot configure the 6-seat anymore. You can only get the 7-seater in Germany. Otherwise, you also have an armrest with a 6-seat, so you can go all the way down and adjust it. So you have a very comfortable seating position in here. And in the center, we get 2 cup holders. We get USB-C on either seats, and also down here. So like I already mentioned, we don't have much storage space in the front, but for instance here we have a ton of storage space in there. So I can basically have another child in there. So it's theoretically an 8-seater. And you also have this tray table in here. So if your stewardess comes around, she can put your nice 5 menu seats, 5 menu food, whatever it's called, in there. Otherwise, you can also move these seats forward and also backwards, obviously. And the other cool function is you can theoretically, if I open this door now, which I can't because I'm locked in. Why am I locked in? And then you can move these seats around, for instance, like this. I can, if I'm at the beach, for instance, lock it in at the 90-degree angle. Oh, very hard when sitting like this, and I can enjoy a nice little breeze like this. Or I can even make it, let me step out, go all the way 90 degrees. Ugh. Oh, I gotta move it the other way around. Give me a second. And there we go, have it like 90 degrees. I don't know what you might use this for, but you cannot use it while driving because otherwise the airbags won't work on this. And now let's also hop into the third row. And you can see it's very comfortable. Just step in like this and then you can sit in here. I'm going to go on to the right side, so I've moved the seat a little bit forward. So it's very comfortable still to sit for the person in front of me. And you can see it's also fairly comfortable for me. 5'11", 1.85 m, just about enough leg room, and foot room is also good enough. I got 2 cup holders in here. I can also flip over I can move this forward and backwards, so even a little bit more comfortable. Look at that, how far it goes back, and you can basically recline in this and feel very comfortable. The seating position is also fairly good. Obviously, this is not supported by anything, so my upper leg is not supported. But if you are only in here with one person in the very back, you can even put your foot in like this, and then it is very comfortable. And you'd enjoy a nice, well, even a long journey in here if you can put your feet out like this. You also got your own climatization, like I already mentioned, with the air conditioning. That is in the front, in the second row. So let's now take a look at the interior, and here's also the key with all the different buttons. For instance, you can obviously park the car by itself, and you can hold it to move forward and backwards. Not 90-degree parking is also available in this car. When you're stepping into this car, there's a couple of things that come standard, or actually one thing that comes standard with the GT Launch Edition is this dual panoramic window. Really nice because you can, for instance, do this. You can open it, and you also have one in the back, which is another nice feature because it just opens the space in the back a little bit more. I really do like that. Otherwise, there's a couple of things we're going to do before we start up the car now. There is these seats with the relax function. So there's a button on the side. If I press it and hold it down, it's going to move me into this, the other variant, there you go. It's going to move me into this relaxation mode. So if I'm, for instance, at a charging spot or something, this is going to be fairly comfortable because it lifts up my lower thigh support. So you can see that this moves out a little bit, and then you have a really comfortable seating position in here to basically sleep for a little bit or just go back. What I personally did is I took my phone out when I was charging. I put this down here, and you can place it on there, and you can watch a movie or something while you're charging, and these headrests are so comfortable. I gotta say, the most comfortable headrest I've had so far, because they're in this like mesh kind of thing. They're also an EV3. Amazing headrests, and I really do like them. You press the button again, it's gonna move you back into your position. Then when you obviously press the car, the start button is down here. So a little bit, well, my dad, for instance, drove this car for 5 minutes, and it took him 10 minutes to find the start button. You press that, and then it's obviously also going to move your seat when you step in here. When you now are stepped in here, it feels right at home. You have a very nice overview of the infotainment display, digital cockpit, and also this kind of small climate zone. Not the big fan of that because it's always blocked by your steering wheel, but what they've integrated is buttons down here for a quick change of the temperature, which is nice. How often do you change the temperature when driving? You press it once when you're driving, when you start off the drive, and that's about it. In the infotainment system, we also have seats camera, so basically a camera for the back seats and a built-in camera. For us, it doesn't work right now, so if I go in here, it doesn't work. Maybe we don't have one equipped because it's a pre-production car or something like that. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and basic stuff that you can basically choose, which you know from all the other variants. Let's also quickly take a look at the navigation system, which again is typical Kia, and there's also a little bit of a tutorial there, but you can have it as split screen, for instance. Works fairly quick. You can see here also satellite pictures the further you zoom out, and it does also have route planning with navigation for your charging stops. I really like the integration of this, so you have your home button, your map, search, media, and basically your setup, which all have a little bit of a haptic feedback. Not the best though if, for instance, the driver, the passenger is changing something on here. Usually they put their hand on like this, and then you're always gonna, well, press on it, so you can't really put your hand on here because you can see it basically presses all the buttons. Also quick bind here for your volume and stuff like that. Always great to see. Otherwise, steering wheel is a little bit different. You have drive modes, terrain modes down here, and otherwise physical buttons, always great to see. Heads-up display and more of that in a second. If we go into reverse, we can also see 360-degree camera with also trajectory lines showing us which way we're basically putting our wheels. If we do this, we can also see the whole car, sadly not in the color of the car. There you can see the way it also looks if you don't have the GT line variant. So this, I think, is the rear-wheel drive system, or basically the all-wheel drive system. You can see a different down here on the grille. Otherwise, great system, high quality, and you also have a front camera for that full 160-degree camera. If you also go down here, you can press on this button, quick bind for your cameras, and you can have them on at any speeds. So the 360-degree camera is even on at that. Down here, we also have a hill descent quick bind, auto hold, and also this, so you can have your fingerprints on here to start up the car. Parking sensors, quick and easy to turn them off and on. You have you have two cup holders in here with also this slide, which makes it look a lot more cleaner and also sounds good. Inductive loading space and also a little bit of space down there, not too much, so you can maybe put your wallet or something like in there. But down here you have a lot more storage space where you can store most of the things you need. And now this is always an interesting thing to get out of. And while we're at it, let's talk about the surrounding view of this car. The front windows are fairly big, and we also have a big bonnet which we can see over, but it is still fairly big. Also, if you want to quickly turn off EU assistance, just like with new Kias or Hyundais, there's a quick bind down here. Hold the volume button down for around 2 seconds or 3 seconds, it's going to turn off. But I like the A-pillar, it's not big, so you have a very good view out there. You have very big side mirrors, which also have this like automatically dimmable map on there, whatever you want to call it, which basically at night is a little bit nicer because the lights don't blend you too much. When looking outwards, you also have a window between the C-pillar back there and a fairly big rear window, but if you don't want to use your rear view mirror, you can also flip it over and you have a digital rear mirror. I like to use it at daytime. At nighttime I always use this one because the lights are from other cars in the digital mirror are not that nice to look at, and just gives you a little bit better view out if you just use a normal one. But if you have passengers in there, you can just flip it over and you have a very good view out the back. Otherwise, this car is really comfortable to drive. We did our consumption test even at top speeds of 200 kilometers an hour. It is still, well, it's going to be a little bit louder just because of the sheer size of it, so wind noise is going to pick up quite good, but 0.28 CV value makes it actually fairly efficient at those speeds as well. Not fairly efficient, it's still an insanely big car, so you are going to have a fairly high consumption, but it is still quite enjoyable to drive at those speeds. The only thing you will really notice is the big side mirrors are going to produce quite a lot of wind noise, but otherwise I think it is a fairly comfortable ride if you're driving in the inside and cruising at 120, 130, what most countries are limited at, and very comfortable to drive. The suspension already does a good job of smoothing out surfaces as well. It obviously has a lot of weight to carry, but still it does a good job. You can change between a couple of drive modes. It's not going to change too much. So if you press down here, we can change between Sport, My Drive, Eco, and Normal. And if you also hold it down, you can change, if you go on the right here, you can also change between the terrain modes, so Snow, Mud, and Sand. Those are all going to change a little bit. When you're on the sporty mode, you can definitely see the gas pedal responsiveness is quite good, and with 385 horsepower with 5.3 seconds from 0 to 100, that is going to get you off the line quite well, and 700 newton meters is obviously, well, something to write home about, because that is quite a lot and definitely does get a good amount of punch. Especially on these smaller roads, you'll definitely notice the sheer size of this car, and you have to watch out to, well, open up the space for other people on the road. If you're driving this in America, it's obviously not going to be a problem, but in Germany, getting parking spots is quite hard. But I gotta say, when driving this car, it doesn't feel as big. You feel quite comfortable in here. And the thing is, the turning circle is also quite good. 12.4 meters really allows us to be a little bit more agile than you might expect in the city and turn around quite quickly. And also the driving, the wheel kind of input and feedback is quite nice. It's a very comfortable ride, especially over here. These are some very bumpy roads, and it just gives you that like floaty kind of feeling. It feels really good. When it comes to the assistant features, you also got quite a good amount in here. We have the heads-up display where we can see most of these safety features or assistant features, for instance highway assistance, with also a lane changing assistance. You have blind spot assistance, collision warner, 360-degree camera, airbags, quite a lot of them, and you can change all of those between here. So you have adaptive cruise control with also lane centralization, So really comfortable to drive. Like I said, if you want to know a little bit more about that and how they are basically when driving, top right corner there's a video towards the EV9 consumption test on the Autobahn. Otherwise, for the driver's perspective, you get massage function in here, which are quite nice, so I can activate for my whole body. And the pretty cool thing about that is after an hour of driving, it's gonna notice that you've been driving for an hour, and it's gonna change the posture of the seats just to give you a little bit more support and smoothen up your back, so you have a more enjoyable ride experience and don't stiffen up too much. You also have heated, ventilated and memory function. You get that for the front and also for the second row, so quite a good amount of equipment in there. And just very comfortable in general in driving this for a longer journey. So claimed is 505 kilometers of range with this vehicle with WLTP with the bigger rims of 22.9 kilowatts an hour. If you now look at since the last time I reset this, which has been now for the past 134, or let's look at the 154 kilometers, that includes highway, country roads, city driving. So very basic combination of the consumption that you might be using on your daily driving. And the consumption is at 22.6, so a little bit lower than you actually, what WLTP claims. And especially when you're driving over the highway, you can get it down. When you're driving behind behind a truck, you can get it down. But when you're just driving in the city, it does a good job. You can also change between the recuperation. You can see down here, we have it on auto right now, so it automatically thinks what is the best recuperation currently. But I can hold it down on the left, it's gonna change all the way to full auto. And if you hold it down more, we can have it individualized. So for instance, I pedal drive, so you have a full one pedal drive system. If I go off the pedal now a little bit, you can see it's going to slow down quite quickly, so down to 70, and then obviously full one pedal drive. And you can change that also down to 0, so you're just gliding along, which is really comfortable to drive due to the simple fact that you don't have to constantly be on the gas pedal if you're, for instance, just trying to cruise down a mountain pass. So if I'm, for instance, now at 60, you can see it's going up a hill a little bit, but it's going to stay at a constant speed. If it's flat, it's going to constantly stay at 60 kilometers an hour, which is always nice. But I have it on level 1 because I like a little bit of recuperation, also extends the range a little bit. So we're now sitting at, okay, now it's gone up to 23 kilowatts an hour because we just went up a mountain. But still, I think for the sheer size of the car, and especially when you're sitting in here with 7 people, it's obviously going to go up a little bit more. I think it's still a fairly decent consumption. So what is my final verdict on the Kia EV9? Well, that's an Audi R8 and I really like that sound of it. But the Kia EV9 is still a fantastic car when it comes to what you're looking for. If you're looking to be a family person, well, family mom that drives their kids around to soccer and stuff like that, you need a lot of space, and I think this is a very practical SUV for that, especially as it has 7 seats. When you're looking at competitors, BMW iX doesn't offer 7 seats. You have a Tesla Model X, which I think does go up to 7 seats, and then also the new Volvo EX90, which in the future, next year, we are also going to be test driving. So hopefully we'll be able to get a better comparison to that, but that car basically starts at the price that this car ends at. So hopefully that's going to give you a little bit of a comparison, but I think it's just a special design of this. A very good loading circle, very nice quality inside, and a very comfortable riding quality. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure to like, subscribe so you don't miss any of the future videos, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.